Good day, everyone. We are the Group 4, and for our topic, it is all about the reality of academic validation. I'm your host for today. My name is Racho, and these are my guests.
Okay, so I'm Elijah Chapek, Survey Maternal.
I am Maria Kisaki, Austria.
And I am Parmit Malhi.
And I am Regen Yuri, I am Manahan.
And to begin, what is academic validation? So, academic validation is the psychological, often toxic reliance on academic performance to determine self worth and personal recognition. While it can drive intense motivation, it often causes high stress, anxiety, and a feeling that is only valuable when achieving top results. One of the causes for this is pressure from parents, desire for success, and societal pressure to excel. Now, I would like to ask you guys, have you ever experienced academic validation?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, when did you first become aware of academic validation in your life?
I think I became aware of that since elementary. I noticed that when you get on the honor roll, people praise you more often. Teachers praise you and label you as a smart child. And still today, I noticed it, but that was when I was elementary.
For me, similar to Maria, of course, everyone notices it in their elementary days since the students that would, of course, get high scores will be praised by their classmates or their teachers, maybe even their parents. But this scene would obviously made me want to excel in elementary as well, since I wanted praise from both my students and my teachers, since it was basically the only time during elementary where I could get get attention.
So, have you guys ever felt like your grades affected how you see yourself, and how? Well, I would like to answer first. So, honestly, yeah, there definitely was a time where I was in an environment where your academic performance basically defined who you are. Like, if you got high grades, you were considered as someone who is smart, capable, and worthy. But if you didn't have high grades, then it felt like you were less of a person. So naturally, I started tying my self-worth to my grades as well. So if I did well, I felt good about myself. And if I didn't, it was just disappointment. And it not only felt like the results was a failure, it felt like I was the failure. So actually, there is also this internal pressure to do everything on my own. Like, if I needed help, it somehow meant that I wasn't good enough. So over time, that mindset led to my burnout now, because I was constantly trying to prove something, not just to others but to myself as well. So, and I personally think that is the dangerous part, when grades stop becoming feedback and start becoming your identity, or basically the thing that defines your entire being. Actually, I came across a psychological research, classical conditioning and affective science. It shows that people learn to associate certain stimuli with emotion. So in school, things like grades, awards, or even a teacher's praise can become emotional triggers. So over time, students may link high grades with feelings of worth and low grades with disappointment or self-doubt. And that's how academic validation starts to form, not just as motivation but as an emotional response by repeated experiences.
Yeah, I definitely feel that a lot. When my grades are good, I feel confident, and I feel very proud. But when my grades are not as what I expected or as what I wanted, then it can make me doubt my abilities, and it can lower my self-esteem, which is obviously it's not good, because we are so dependent on the numbers high to make our self-esteem better, which is not good because one one mistake or one problem with your grades make you doubt your whole identity and how you feel about yourself. It can lead to your burnout, what you have said, and of course it can sometimes lead to depression, which is, it's very bad.
Which affects your entire life.
So, yes, similar to Maria, of course, high grades would make me more confident and less worried about this specific subject. So, as to if, compared as to if I would get low grades in one subject, I would get more sort of annoyed or call this maybe like downplaying myself in my abilities in this certain subject, since I would think to myself like I would get decent grades, for example, like higher than 80% like that. But and if I were to get lower than this, I would obviously see myself as someone not worth the effort and the praise of getting the other high grades compared when I get these low grades.
So, what kind of reactions from others make you feel validated academically?
One thing would probably be when classmates or other students ask me for help or that sort, since they trust me to be able to help them in improving themselves in this certain aspect or this certain subject. And probably also the act of being someone that people can rely on, not just in school but also in other parts that is related to academics.
For me, same with Eli. When I feel validated when my classmates ask me for help in the activities, or even when teachers give specific feedbacks to my work. Yes, and when my effort gets recognized, or even when my peers respect my ideas.
It makes you feel validated.
Yes.
So, where do you think the pressure to achieve academically mostly comes from for you guys?
Maybe from like ranking high grades or like trying to compete with the like smart elite students.
Yeah.
Yeah, if like because or also it matters also the family, because some of the family pressurize you to be like mostly like be perfect or be have a great score rather than supporting them, so that may lead a validation.
Yes. Adding on to what Parmid said, obviously parents and peers would make you feel more like pressured, since of course if your peers were to get high scores and high grades, you would of course feel, if you were to get less, you'd feel very
Dismotivated.
yes, dismotivated.
Like, you don't have the
what's word?
energy.
Yes, you would feel demotivated. That's the word. Demotivated, since you would think your peers as equals, right? Your peers.
Yeah.
Like, how do I explain this? You and your peers, from your perspectives, are like this, right?
Equal.
Same level. Yes.
Yes.
And if your peers were to get higher,
Higher.
you would of course feel
Lower or left behind.
Yes. So one thing to probably move on from this is to not really let it get to your head, since of course you are not gonna be the same as them. There will always be differences in what you're good at or what you're not that good at. Also, Parmit mentioned before about parents, right?
Yes, yes.
So I would think that parents, for some, would want to make their children
valedictorian?
Not like they would make them more like be themselves in the past. Like if their parents were like top scorers, for example, like the Torrance valedictorian, of course they would want to impose that role to their children. Since
Like make get them or like make them inspired.
yes,
Be their children's role models.
yes, so yes, basically like that. But of course, their children is not them.
Yes.
So you can't really expect them to get what you had.
Back then.
Yes, because times are different. Of course, there are new, more recent findings about these the things taught in school. So basically, what you would need back then is not the things that you would need right now. And this would also add on to the fact that just because you as a parent were, for example, the best in your school, that doesn't mean it will be this
Doesn't mean your child has to be good in school too. Also,
Or does it have to be just to be exactly
Or they replicate.
where?
yes, it's not something that is basically brought down to lower generations of your family. So what you had is not what they will have, basically.
It's not guaranteed that
Yes, it's not guaranteed. So they may have parts of it, but not the entire thing. Yes.
So, how do family expectations influence the way students view their performance, academic performance?
Family expectations. Family expectations will, of course, from my perspective, be different from each member of the family. Like, for example, one member of your family might expect you to be the, like, the one who will pull the family higher. So you were basically the scapegoat.
Scapegoat.
Yes, the scapegoat that will basically, if something were to happen to you, it won't affect the family. Since of course, if you were to be brought down, you were the only one that was brought down. They basically won't the word. Yes, it won't affect them as much since forgot the word. It
It
it there's a word for it. There's a word for it. No. Forgot the word. Okay, so I just moved from a different perspective since forgot the word. If that is what one member would think, of course the others would have different opinions or expectations. But of course, there will be some that will expect you, same to the other ones, expect you to go higher, while some just expect you to do what you can and do what you feel is most right for you.
any other opinions on that? Do you have any say?
As Elijah said, yeah, I would agree. Like each parents have their own perspective. Like example, if you're a parent of a principal, if your dad is a principal, of course they would expect from a principal's son to be like mostly the valedictorian or a perfect student also.
Yeah.
If you're and there are some parents who like think that there's also like different parents also, like some parents think that you're just okay, at least you just pass so that moving forward you will have a bright future, and some are like you want to be like them. They mostly like compare with other children also most of the time.
So basically, what people see in, for example, your parents are what they would expect from their children.
Yeah.
Kind of like the saying that
And
goes like parent, like child.
Like example, if the relative son is more like got like in first honor, and they will say you should be also in first honor because you got first honor. So like comparison, that's also a academic
And
validation.
also, this is just an example. If either your sibling or a close or distant cousin were to be a top scorer of their respective school, of course your family would
Would force you or that.
no, like they would compare you to these children since of course they could do it, so why can't you? That is actually something that I see from a lot of families, especially grandparents.
And I think this is kind of like also a major problem about academic validation because as mostly I think household it happens usually that time the comparison each other children's even though they're not the same or even the same blood.
So, does social media contribute to academic validation, and in what ways? Now, for me, I think it definitely does, but in a more subtle way. Because on social media, you often see people posting achievements, perfect scores, honor rolls, top notchers, and all of that stuff. While there's nothing wrong with that, it kind of creates a highlight reel of success. Now, so when you're scrolling, it often feels like everyone is doing better than you, and that makes you feel like you're left behind. And it kind of turns academics into something performative. Like, you're not just studying to learn, but to have something to show.
Like
Basically-
achievement.
Yeah.
So basically, just improving your grades just so you could basically
Have something to post.
do something to
Yeah.
post and something to brag about.
Yeah.
Basically.
To show off.
But we need to remember that if each person have their own like perspective or role as in life. Some are not good in school, some are very good in school.
And also, if you were to do this, of course, there would be some that would congratulate you or bring you up, while some would, of course, get jealous or like
And get
downplay you.
envious.
Yeah, and Sir L says that like everyone has better versions of you, or there's somebody who is better than you. Yeah.
And that feeds into validation because you start thinking that if I don't achieve something that is worth posting, then does it even count? And that mindset really can affect how you see your own progress and growth.
For me, yes, I personally believe that social media adds comparison because there are billions of people who use social media, and social media is a platform where you can post literally everything, and one of that is your achievements. And I myself post achievements on my social media too, and yes, I sometimes post achievements like, for example, basketball or anything I achieve in my life. And when I myself I don't get affected when I see people posting their achievement because I personally believe that there are some things you can do that others can't do, and there are also things that you cannot do that others can.
Yeah, like
And you are unique on your own.
and like to add more like example,
Yeah.
there are some that are good in basketball but not good in studies. But the people who are smart but they're not good at physically or even they're like basketball. For my example, my classmate in my old school, I won't say the school, but she was a valedictorian, but she's not physically like playing or like that. She doesn't even know how to dribble a ball. That's
So,
why.
like sports.
Yeah, she's like very weak in sports but very smart.
in
In
terms of
academics,
academics.
yeah.
So
She usually fails in PE classes if he has like basketball or volleyball.
It kind of reminds me of that show, Young Sheldon, in
I,
which he despises PE classes.
I can relate to actually both of you, similar to Yuri. I actually were to scroll through their Facebook, Instagram, or Reddit, I would definitely find people posting about their achievements or maybe their grades. But I won't let it really get to me since, of course, I know an estimate of what I'm capable of. And I wouldn't want to impose a different expectation of myself just so I could basically fit into the level of these people. I would just go on with what I can do and try to improve myself slowly, not to brag or to
Have something to show.
yes, but just to basically show to myself that I can improve and I can do better, not for others, but just for myself.
Because we are unique as a person because
Yes.
on their own.
So, how does academic validation affect a student's mental health?
I think it has really big impact, especially when students rely on it so much that they end up being extremely pressured constantly to the point that they get burnt out or just tired to not do anything. And it not only just affects them mentally, it can also affect them physically because obviously when you're burnt out and so pressured to do your best, be better, be number one, you tire your physical
And mental
well-being
being.
as well. You sleep late, you don't eat, you just don't take care of yourself more, and that physical burnt out affects your mental health as well because you can't think properly when you don't have the quality of sleep, the ability to eat properly, not have nutritious foods,
You just don't have time for yourself.
yes.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
So, actually, for me, academic validation is something that can either affect somebody positively or negatively. It really depends on how they perceive this validation. So, for example, one person might see it as motivation or something to look forward to when achieving something. They would think of it as a
Goal.
yes, as
Like a drive.
a goal and a drive to basically do better and to impose to others what these motivations can do. But on the contrast, somebody might think of it as something that can
Pressure them.
yes
Bring
give
them down.
yes give them pressure and downplay them, since of course there will be people that seek this validation or I don't know, self confidence probably, and having this sort of drive to actively seek this validation, as I said before, either positive or negative, but most likely it will affect somebody negatively since they would focus more on basically doing things just so they could receive validation. They need to rely on this sort of outside motivation just to do things. So if, for example, they were
External
to
validation.
yes, they were to not get the praise that they wanted, they might be demotivated to do it. They might
To even do anything.
disregard their past works because they weren't congratulated like they were before. So it basically gives an over reliance to something that you don't really need.
So, at what point does motivation turn into unhealthy pressure? So,
Probably when you, as I said, you rely on it too much.
yeah. When it becomes unhealthy when it stops feeling like a choice, like motivation.
It's like a requirement. Like
Yeah.
you need to really maintain that grade. So that becomes a pressure as well. Like for example, like we are valedictorian since grade school, and you're also now forcing yourself to be valedictorian also in high school.
So basically, you'd be pressured to do it, even
Yes.
though you don't really.
Because first, like your classmates or your teachers or even your parents expect you to stay at the same like valedictorian, but as year goes by, education gets more harder as well.
Like the difference between motivation and pressure is that motivation is that you want to do well, but pressure is like you have to do well because otherwise you'd feel like a disappointment to others. Because we have to remember that we are not like emotionless robots. We're humans. We're unique. We feel and we think.
Yeah, but adding that but in life we should also like have balance. We should also have like enjoyment as well as like studying, because like if you're gonna be like too focused on study, you're like mostly missing out the world, like missing out the world, like not hanging out with friends or family time or like that. So we need to really balance.
Yeah, because when you start sacrificing yourself or even your sense of self just to meet others' expectation, that's where it crosses a line.
And you're trying to expect on others, but if you're gonna see like other than your parents or your teachers, no one cares about academic, of course, based on my like I think on my experience, because for example, my classmate was a valedictorian, but in our class she was like very praised or like that, but other sections they don't even care if she was valedictorian or not.
Like they don't even
Yeah,
know her,
because like it's for you mostly. Other people like mostly don't care about your life.
Yeah, since of course they're not with you. So
Yeah.
it really wouldn't, for some it wouldn't really matter.
but then to yourself it feels like it's like your entire being. It's what
Yeah.
makes who you are.
Think of it as something that represents you. But also, the people's expectations of what you could do or what you will do is based on what you did before. So, if example, as permitted valedictorian, you think of, they're gonna expect you to be, of course, valedictorian. But something they forget is the exponential difficulty growth of the
Yes, education.
educational years.
Like-
Basically, what you can do in grade, for example, grade 7 is not something that is very high in grade 8.
Like for example, the grade school was in math only plus minus divide, and in high school it becomes algebra and geometry.
The
So,
difficulty
Yeah.
basically multiplies on itself.
by the grades goes up.
Yeah.
That reminds me of saying that life doesn't get easier. You grow even more, something like that. I think it goes like that.
And life doesn't stay on one line.
Yeah, it evolves
Like
as well.
life has different paths, so in education it also applies the same.
Yeah.
Basically, life is like climbing a mountain. You might climb to the peak of one part of your life,
Yeah,
but
but-
you'd have to, you'd go down, then go up, go down,
Yeah,
go up.
but-
Nothing is ever
one straight
consistent.
line.
And you learn by the mistakes as well,
Yeah.
Failures shape who you are.
because we're just humans.
Yeah. So, what are the positive effects of seeking academic validation? I think there are some positives, but only to a certain point. Like, wanting validation can push you to work harder.
Motivation.
Yeah, stay disciplined and aim higher. Like, it can give you the extra motivation to actually try, especially when things get difficult or when you go through hardships. In some cases, it does build confidence when your efforts are recognized by your teachers and stuff. It can reinforce that you are capable, but the key is balance. Balance is key because when once you depend on external validation, that's when it starts to turn into pressure.
And like,
Basically, you should just think of it as something that you get, not something that you need. So this is
Yeah.
like just a
Something you want.
sprinkle.
yeah, and we should not like expect from one person like, oh go, you will be valedictorian also next year like that. Yeah, so
That's just unrealistic.
yes, and there's also some like they ever valedictorian at one time, but the next year they got failed on some subjects. So,
So it all basically
because of their pressures mostly, because they got a lot of pressure, then they did not have like enjoy time, because when you have like a relaxed mind, it mostly like help you also in academics and mostly
most definitely.
yeah, like for example, Sir Peter, he gets strict but also plays ML so that we will feel relaxed.
He,
Yeah,
he balances like He separates his professionalism
And
to
he
his
always,
personal life.
yeah, he always tells us the key is time management.
Yeah.
We should have time management for each, for enjoyment, for sleep, and for passing tasks and studying.
So basically, it just boils down to the person to how they handle these expectations or awards, and how they can balance it with.
But it's the nature of the human how himself wants his life to be.
Yeah,
Really depends on his mindset.
it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
And it really depends on what that person thinks. So, do you guys think academic performance should define a person's worth? Why or why not?
I definitely don't think that it defines the person's worth, because academic performance only shows a small percentage of who a person is. It only really shows how well a person can be in school, how well they do with exams, quizzes, and stuff. But there's other qualities a person have, like their talents, their skills, their
sporty
emotional
side.
intelligence. Yes, there's more to them to know than just their academic side, because our entire life doesn't just revolve in academics. We also have things we pursue, like sports, what we said.
Music.
Other people have, love sports. Other people aren't so into academics. So no, I don't think it defines a person's worth.
Would also think that it doesn't define the person, since most of the stuff we actually learn in life isn't from school. We learn it outside. So example,
Real life.
From experience.
yes, we gain hobbies, example, from friends, not exactly from school, but what we see from others, we try to copy and do ourselves.
Replicate.
Yeah, replicate and
Like
Even their-
idols.
Even
yeah,
interests.
yeah. So, for example, you see somebody outside reading something, you see that's interesting, you hop onto it, and you might even like it. So you really wouldn't know. So what you would get in schools, for example, grades, they aren't a measure of somebody's worth. They're just a measure of how well you handle the pressures of school and how well you can memorize.
And adding more, it doesn't really define you as a person, what will be your future, because if you're gonna see, most billionaires nowadays are like, they did not like even completed, I think, high school, like such as Elon Musk.
So most
and-
were dropouts.
Yeah, and I have a real life example. It was my mom's uncle. He studied up until grade 5. Then after that, he due to financial situations, he had to drop out from school, and he went to England, and he started as he struggled as a construction worker. After that, now he built a lot of factories in China and other, but now he's one of the millionaires in UK.
Yeah, my family members actually have a similar experience, to which they have dropped out of school in an early age because of financial problems.
So it
but
doesn't-
now they
yeah.
have a stable career.
Yeah, so it doesn't define, like, even their sons like drive nowadays like Ferrari, Lamborghinis, like that. So it doesn't really define their future. What is their
Yeah.
future? Because if we're gonna like say about academic, he wasn't like even that much educated, but he even made these stable businesses now.
Also, reducing a person's worth is just really unfair, because that's not academic performance is not all that. You have other things going on for yourself as well.
Because even if a person gets, for example, failing grades, it really doesn't compare to what they can do.
And I think rather than academic, like education is important as well, but I think that real life skills are more important nowadays. If you
Education
don't-
is
yeah.
basically
a way
something you add
just
on.
but now they, instead of education, like we should have education but also focus in real life skill, because most schools are not teaching that kind. Because I noticed like some schools, I won't say those names, but they only educate but they won't like teach us real life skills.
Like taxes.
Yeah,
Taxes.
but like in our school, we had usually every Friday they would teach us real life skills such as like teaching Koreans, Japanese, or carpentry or other stuff like real life. So they would give us like 2 hours every Friday. So yeah, so
Kind of
I
like
think we need also to implement that in USDP also to
I
teach
didn't have
real
that
life.
actually.
kind of like my old subject TLE.
Yeah, TLE was cooking. We had a different. It was all a lot different.
Yeah.
So our school was basically also in education, but also in real life skills because cooking is also an important part.
Yeah, because we need to eat.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it should be more implemented in schools in CDO more
Yeah.
about this.
Skills. So, how can students separate their self worth from grades, from their grades?
I think. I think by also giving time for themselves rather than like usually if you're gonna like sit out if you have really good friends you would know like you're a capable person, like for example like if you don't have the if you have those kinds of friends like who really like likes you or even like consider you as a best friend genuinely, he won't ever like judge you by grades or even your situation. Because I have those friends also before like they would judge me, but the friends that I have now they won't usually judge me and treat me as their like best friend. So that's why it really matters by the person and the family as well. Like my family, they said like we don't expect from you that much, but we just expect you to just pass in school. So we don't like pressure you to become like one of the like valedictorians or like that.
The top notch.
Yeah, and my parents would say like, "How's your enjoy as well?" So usually they would just say at night, "It's enough study. You can enjoy a bit for half hour like that."
Yeah. And for me, somebody should really separate these two since, of course, their education is just one part of their life. It's not everything. So if you were to base everything on education, it won't be accurate. Since, for example, education is 10% of your life, since 18, 20, 15% of your life, there are still 85% that's not education. So like life skills, yeah, family,
Hobbies.
your connections, your hobbies. So it's not fair to just use education as the basis for your life.
And focus on one certain thing only.
Everything should be balanced and added equally, not just one thing is heavier than the other.
Yeah, they all play a part in our
Yes.
life.
So they're basically puzzle pieces of our lives.
Yeah.
And yeah, and in the future you won't know if you really need education or not, because
You won't know if what you learned is
Yeah.
actually something you will use.
yeah. So like for example, nowadays do billionaires really use music classes? I think not really. So it really depends what you will pursue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
since
You should be more focused on that.
yeah,
But it is kind of good that you will be rounded in terms of like education and stuff. Yeah,
but
it's good to learn
Yeah.
about
I would say
things.
both of them are really important
yeah,
in
Yeah.
life. Because education gives you maybe more opportunities.
yes,
If you're more educated or have a degree, for example, like Sir Peter, he has a lot of degrees and
Yeah.
he has a
knows
lot
so
of
much.
yeah, so he has a lot of job opportunities, as he said in our last meeting on Wednesday.
It's
when we
very
presented.
employable.
Yeah, he's very employable. So it can open more doors if you're more educated.
Yeah.
but yes, this can most situations would be good for you, but there are also some, like for example, you'll get a degree in something. There are specific specific situation where it won't be of use. For example, your degree of music might not relate to what you actually work. For example, you made a business, you learned this business, how to grow it, how to make money from it, but did your music degree help in it, or did your computer's degree work in it?
Yeah, like my parents, their business now is about finance. So they say that they don't even use algebra and geometry that they learn. They just use times, minus, plus, and
Simple
divide.
math.
Yeah, simple math. So they said like for them it's kinda useless that they wasted like those years to study algebra and geometry.
So you really need to know what you want to do in the future, and so that you can learn this in school, not just go the wrong
So
way.
my dad, like, he usually more focused on real life experience. That's why he's successful now. Because since 17, he said like, I need to learn some real life skills. So he started working, and he's now almost 50, and he's still working. So yeah.
Adding more from that, I think students can and should separate their self-worth from their grades or their score. And speaking of self-worth, we ourselves are the only one who can judge ourselves
Because we
based
know
from
who we are.
yes, based from our achievements or our efforts. And I think grade should not define us, but grade should guide us from what we should
Do.
with what we should do or what we need to fix.
Yes, since we know what we can do and what we can't, but what others see in us might not actually reflect on what we can do. Like for example, you're smart in this thing, and people expect you to, reflect that to everything else. It's
Yeah.
not like, it's not, what do you call this? It's not balanced.
We should be like more like Sir L. Like, he says that he doesn't expect like most of the class to give an perfect answer, but give a real life experience about those questions.
Or like give an answer
Yeah,
that
and he doesn't also expect like his students will be like top tier in his class. He just expects that they do well.
they do their best.
Yeah, and they do what is their job.
So, what are other ways students can feel validated outside academics?
Probably one thing is learning new skills.
Yeah.
Since if you learn something new, you would of course at that time enjoy it. You'd want to improve on it, learn more about it. So, for example, you learn just how to ride a motorcycle. Of course, you'd want to improve yourself on it. You would enjoy that until most would still enjoy it, but some they would.
When they get
Yeah,
tired.
they would get tired.
Some would even join competitions as well.
Yeah, it's just basically solely adding to the hobby.
Yeah. Just going a level further.
So basically, placing new bricks on your tower.
Yeah.
Just slowly rising higher and higher.
Also, besides the passion, of course, like riding a motorcycle, they can also feel validated through their social interactions, like
Social
how
life.
how well they are as friends, how good they are to strangers. Like they can do like a random good deed. They can
Interactions.
Feel, yes, they can feel validated with that. They can also feel validated by their family on how they good something, how good they do something, like how well they act, how well they give advices, how well they
Comfort
yes,
someone.
how well they can just socialize in general.
So like the major parts of like the academic validation is main three, I think. First will be like the main is teachers, because based on the teachers, like in my old school, they would like rather be like more favoritism. If favoritism, like for example, like he would like answer every question if the smart student will ask, but if a failed student will ask, he won't answer it. So favoritism. So it really matters a teacher, because like for example Sir Peter, I think like he treats us equally. So he even enjoys and he even gets mad on everyone. So teachers. And second would be family, because family pressure and more, we already explained that. And maybe the third would be the peers and friends. It really depends where you are in a class. So because some classes are a lot of smart students and like they have different attitude, but some are very friendly.
So basically, it's just
Okay, we can
so it basically relies on how we take this, these things and how we react to it.
And similar to what Maria said, there are many other sources from validation, like for example sports and hobbies, or from what you said earlier in competitions.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for that. It suddenly rained, so we had to move. So, continuing our discussion. So, how can students manage the pressure of needing validation, academic validation?
Actually, one thing they could or should do is to separate these two things. So, academic validation, of course, for some, as we said before, it will motivate them. But this motivation isn't something that should be regarded as something that you need. It's just basically the word itself, motivation. So it's not something you should rely on, since you already did good. You don't need to rely on this thing just to do good. So basically, just do as you would normally, but not being or not relying on the expectations or the praise of the others.
So, it's the intention that
Yes.
matters.
Also, another thing we can do to help students who struggle in or who are hungry in academic validation is to study with them, or we share our notes, or even when we listen to them without judging them.
So it all relies on how the students pause. So it all relies on how the students think or how they react to these outside stimuli.
Now, what role should schools and teachers play in reducing this pressure?
I think for the teachers, they should be more open to the students, and they should consider their stress also by not giving a lot of tasks. But if they want to give a lot of tasks, they should give a proper time. Proper time, like for example, Sir Peter, he gave us like 8 new steps, but he gave us a lot of time, like 10 days apart. So they should also consider the time of the students also if they're gonna give a task, or and they should be open like Sir Peter, like he also gets like mad when we don't listen, but also like make jokes with us, so it feels also relaxed a bit.
Yeah, I think schools and teachers play
Play a major
a
role.
huge role. They need to stop making feel like grades are the only thing that matters, because it makes the students feel like they should just survive in the school and not thrive and actually learn. So learning should be the focus and not just scores or rankings.
Schools should be something that is looked forward to, not something that is to be scared of or to be pressured in. And also, since teachers are basically our second parents, they're the only things between the students and the parents of the students. They should understand the the experience of the students, what the student feels, and what the student tells to them, and basically interpret it to something that they can use to motivate the student or to tell to the parents that they need to understand.
And rather by like only by focus, like a teacher should be not only focused in academics, they should like also like chit chat or talk with students, how is their life going on, or like that, so the student will feel more lighter in it, because there are some things that they cannot tell to their parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can also create environments where it's okay to make mistakes, because right now a lot of students are scared to fail, and that just adds even more pressure to the students.
Also, adding to what Parmit said, students shouldn't be afraid to talk to their teachers to ask for help. Like what Elijah said, teachers are like our second parents. So they shouldn't be afraid to ask for a bit of time or like extra time to do their work in case if there are, conflicts with scheduling.
Yeah.
But then again, these two aspects schools and teachers can help, but it really all comes down to the student, if they can handle asking questions, or if they can handle what they are currently doing.
Yeah, main is like I think confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence
Or
and
courage.
the actual drive to do something. So if you are not able to do this thing that was assigned to you, what can the teachers do to help you if you're not doing it yourself? So basically, you asking for help, if you're not doing it, is basically the help is basically useless since you weren't doing it in the first place. Help is something that isn't needed to start. It's something that is added on to what you did so that you can do it either easier or faster.
Or some valid reasons or validation, like what happened, where you could add some myth.
Also, help goes both ways. As what Elijah said, the student should also help themselves so they don't lack in their task. They should help themselves, and the teachers should help them as well. It goes both ways. It's just not the student helping themselves and the teacher not doing anything to help them. It should, it should be a combination of both.
Adding more, I noticed like there's a major problem if like the teacher gives like time to do tasks. A lot of students would say, let's do it tomorrow. It's still like 5 days ago or like that, and they would do the task like last night before like the submission, like
Last minute.
yeah, like for examples, like sorry for saying it, but lard, they would not like comment for the whole week, but they would comment like an hour before 12 a.m. from the deadline. So it really plays a major role. Like if you got the task and you have free time extra, you should work on that task rather than like saying it tomorrow, because you might not know if tomorrow you're available or not.
So basically, the schools and teachers can't help you if you're not helping yourself.
Yes.
Their help is useless for someone who doesn't do things.
Or respect time.
Yeah.
And also, I think more, we should not only talk about the role of the teachers or the school. We should also talk about students ourselves. As a student, we should help our co-students who are in need. And helping should not be something that is only present when someone is really in need. Helping should be always present, always be there, even when on the smallest thing. That's all.
Also, we may not actually know it, but through small things or big things, every day we're actually receiving help. It's just if we interpret it as help or something that we just receive.
Like the saying goes, like if you don't help yourself, no one else will help you.
Yeah. So, how can we support peers who struggle with academic pressure?
One thing, we to let them realize that these academic pressures are something that they can ask help for or they can do themselves. Like for example, doing assignments, like they should not do it last minute. If they have the time before the deadline, they should do it then. But of course, there will always be unprecedented circumstances, like they got sick or they got injured. Then of course, they can ask for help, but help isn't always there. Like you won't always receive it. So better do it yourself now rather than rely on the others to do it later.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we can do for them is just to be there with them, like generally.
By supporting the peers, I think we can support them by enlightening them, like by saying like it's okay if sometimes you get low scores.
Like words of
Yeah.
affirmation.
Not
like,
always you should get a high score, but sometimes we need to also have low scores because it also helps us to realize our mistakes as well. If we get
It helps us improve on this certain thing,
And
and also makes us less grounded, not get overconfident in something, because
And-
overconfidence only leads to the downfall of us.
and grade should be not like it should be an award, but like not morally focused. Grade should be like more focused on like what you need to improve.
Also, social interaction is very important. To what Elijah said, yes, it's very important to help yourself first because that's where it starts. But also, think about the people that you connect with or the people you interact, because if you interact with people who are not so good or not the ones who lead you down, it can affect you negatively. So choose your circle wisely and to think not for yourself only, but to think of others. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, if you were to just rely on the help of others, you would then be like,
Spoon feeding.
yeah, you would be spoon-fed, and you won't be able to rely on yourself to do things. You would rely on their
You will not
help,
be
and
independent.
yeah, you would be dependent on the others. You won't, for if you were to do this, you would not be able to do things yourself. Like, it would either be put off or forgotten, maybe even like disregarded, and to over reliance on the help of others is not something that you should do. It's just something that basically a last resort.
Yeah, and as you grow, you need to be more independent rather than dependent, because in life you might be alone, so no one might stand up with you.
You won't know when you'd still have people, or when they would disappear from your life. So better to help yourself now and in your future rather than
If you're gonna do it now, you will have less struggle. If you do it in future, you will have a lot of problems.
Basically, life is unexpected. What you may think will happen to you might not happen. So be prepared for the unexpected.
we can never truly prepare for life since everything is unexpected. So it's better to just improve now than improve later.
So overall, academic validation can really shape how we see ourselves, but it shouldn't define who we are. Grades, achievements, scores, all they matter, but they're not everything. When we tie our entire identity to it, that's when it starts to become unhealthy. We should remind ourselves and each other that we are more than just numbers. We're people who think, feel, struggle, and grow. And I think that's where real validation comes from. Not just from results, but from effort, progress, and being human. So that was all for our podcast for today. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Bye.
Bye.